only at the Christmas shop.
Tomorrow marks 20 years since the 9/11 attacks changed the nation forever. I'm Michael George at Ground Zero, where the remembrances have already begun.
Plus, the Pittsburgh fire chief remembers assisting in the 9/11 rescue efforts and reflects on the lessons he now shares.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Tomorrow marks a somber anniversary, 20 years since the terrorist attacks of September 11th. This is KOAM News at 5. Events to remember the nearly 3,000 lives lost began today in Washington, D.C. and New York City. Michael George reports from Ground Zero.
On the eve of the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, people are coming to where the Twin Towers once stood, including firefighter Nate Smith from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He brought his family to pay their respects.
Just to kind of pay tribute to fallen brothers and sisters. It's pretty emotional.
At the New York Stock Exchange, traders held a moment of silence to mark the day. On 9/11, St. Nicholas Church was destroyed when the towers came down. It's taken 20 years to rebuild, but today, finally, the cross was placed back on top. Near the nation's capital, bells rang 3 times, one for each location planes hit on September 11th. FBI Director Christopher Wray says the agency lives every day as if it's September 10th.
Every day we wake up asking ourselves, what do we need to do to keep people safe today and tomorrow and the day after?
Tomorrow, ceremonies will mark the anniversary at the Pentagon, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and New York City. The Director of Homeland Security met with New York officials today, guaranteeing the safety of residents and visitors.
We have a very resilient and strong counterterrorism overlay that is thousands of uniformed and civilian members overlaid with bomb detection, overlaid with long guns, as the governor said, and that should reassure people, not alarm people.
The Department of Homeland Security says there are no credible threats from any terrorist groups or individuals. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
President Biden will pay his respects tomorrow in New York, D.C., and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh Fire Chief Dennis Riley remembers his time assisting recovery efforts at Ground Zero, from what he observed to what he smelled. Although 20 years have passed, he still has days where it felt like it happened just recently. Riley says he now uses his experiences to educate younger firefighters to be ready for anything.
And that just tells me that those of us who are in the senior leadership positions, those of us who can relate to that event, those of us who were there, need to make sure we send that message loud and clear all the time of what happened and what our community needs us to be able to do.
Now the fire department adds an emphasis on training, preparation, readiness, and never taking anything for granted. Nick Kelly joins us now with a first look at the weather.
Good evening, Dow. We had a pretty mild start to our Friday, but the whole day has been looking pretty good. We just took advantage of the sunshine and really heated things up back into the lower 90s across a good portion of the area. We're still looking good for 7th and Range Line, a clean scan on the radar network once again. And not to mention, looking at pretty much mostly sunny skies, a pretty good indication. That's how we're going to stay, not only for Friday night evening plans, but for Friday night football games taking place tonight. Upper 80s to lower 90s, so definitely a bit hot out there, but the breeze out there too, south at 5 to 15 miles per hour. That will kind of stay in place for the rest of the evening, which means a slow drop in temperatures. 83 by 8 down to 77 by midnight. Ultimately, Dow will have lows dropping back near 70 across much of the area. We'll see if this is heat that'll stick around for the weekend, and also break down the next chance for rain here in a bit.
Catch you then. The Department of Justice is suing the state of Texas over its new abortion law, saying it infringes on constitutional rights and long-standing court precedent. Abortion rights advocates describe the Texas law as one of the most restrictive. The Supreme Court declined to block it last week, but did not rule on the constitutionality of the legislation and did not rule out further challenges.
It's a procedural matter, and so we'll see what happens in that area when we get a substantive matter in front of us.
Before the court can revisit the Texas case, it's expected to hear arguments this fall regarding Mississippi's abortion law, which bans abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. A newly released email appears to indicate hundreds of law enforcement officials were warned about potential violence 2 days before the January 6th insurrection. Watchdog group Property of the People has posted an email that was sent by Mike Senna on January 4th. Senna is the president of the National Fusion Center Association, which helps keep various law enforcement agencies informed of threats. The email references a conference call where officials were briefed on the potential for violence to occur on January 6th. An associate of Rudy Giuliani today pleaded guilty to illegal campaign finance activities. Igor Fruman had been charged with soliciting a contribution by a foreign national. His plea did not include an agreement to cooperate with the government. Fruman was originally indicted in October of 2019. He and another Giuliani associate, Lev Parnas, pleaded not guilty to a number of charges, including making false statements and falsifying records to the Federal Election Commission. Still ahead, lawmakers battle over the strategy for fighting COVID.
President Biden is standing firm on his aggressive plan to battle the pandemic despite legal threats from Republicans. I'm Skyler Henry at the White House with the latest and a look at how the rollout is impacting millions.
Plus, encouraging news in the effort to eliminate cervical cancer. Those stories next in Health Watch.
So what came first, the grilled cheese or the burger?
In 15 counties. It's the right thing.
Topping today's Health Watch, President Biden signaled he's prepared for a fight after proposing sweeping new vaccine mandates that are likely to affect more than 100 million U.S. workers. Some Republican governors and lawmakers have called the new actions un-American, and they're threatening to sue. Skyler Henry has more from the White House.
Have at it.
That's President Biden's message to the growing number of Republicans threatening legal action as his administration drafts a new rule requiring companies with more than 100 employees to mandate the COVID vaccine or weekly testing.
When you have a president like Biden issuing unconstitutional edicts against the American people, we have a responsibility to stand up for the Constitution and to fight back.
The White House COVID response team says it expects the new OSHA rule to be finalized in the coming weeks.
Enforcement actions conclude fines up to $13,600 per violation.
The president's new plan to tackle the pandemic also includes a vaccine mandate for federal executive branch workers and contractors, as well as for Head Start and federal school employees. It comes as the CDC touts new studies on the effectiveness of the vaccine.
Those who were unvaccinated were about 4.5 times more likely to get COVID-19, over 10 times more likely to be hospitalized, and 11 times more likely to die from the disease.
President Biden is calling on large entertainment venues to require proof of vaccination, and he wants states to mandate the vaccine for school employees.
Hey, buddy.
During a visit with the First Lady to a Washington, D.C. middle school, President Biden pushed mask wearing, vowed to expand testing options, and made this offer.
Once you all get vaccinated, you're invited to a special visit at the White House.
This week, the Los Angeles Unified School District became the first to mandate students 12 and older be vaccinated for in-person learning. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The HPV vaccine has put the U.S. on track to nearly eliminate cervical cancer in the coming decades. The projection, published in a Journal of the American Association for Cancer Research, shows low poverty communities will reach the target before high poverty communities because of a disparity in screenings. An estimated 14,000 cases of cervical cancer are diagnosed in the U.S. each year, and 90% are caused by certain types of human papillomavirus, or HPV. Jumping, crawling, and even walking backwards may help people with Parkinson's disease improve their ability to walk. A study out of the Netherlands highlights 7 basic exercises for patients, like walking to a count in their heads, walking in rhythm to a metronome, and watching other people walk. Researchers say those with Parkinson's need to be more aware of these techniques in order to benefit from them. And that is a look at today's health news. Later, the road ahead for car shoppers.
The car shortage hitting dealerships nationwide is getting worse. I'm Anthony Purrow with a look at how much longer this could continue.
But first, we'll see how high the thermometer will go for the rest of the weekend and when we can see our next chance for rain. And my forecast up next.
Woody Smokehouse and Aaron Sachs and Associates.
We kept things pretty quiet for today. Not a bad way to start the weekend out. Not to mention temperatures were okay, at least to start this morning out. On the heels of hitting temperatures in the upper 80s yesterday, we dropped back into the mid 60s this morning. That's quite a mild start after we dropped back into the upper 50s on Thursday morning. But we had to go back into the late summer heat. High so far today at 93 in Joplin, all because we didn't have anything to impede the incoming sunshine. We had plenty of sunshine, open blue skies all day long, and just to make doubly sure, we don't have anything showing up on the radar network. Pretty good idea of how we're going to look as we go throughout the rest of the evening. So 7th and Rangeline, we're looking good at 514, looking on the east side of Joplin, 92 degrees, a south breeze at 11, but since our humidity is so low at 30%, it actually feels a little cooler because of this dry air in place. It feels like 90 degrees outside. But everybody is pretty much in the upper 80s to lower 90s right now at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Not that much warmer compared to where we were at this time yesterday, maybe 3, 4, 5 degrees warmer, so not too terrible. And at the very least, we keep things quiet for the rest of the evening. 83 degrees by 8 o'clock. We'll be in the 70s once we hit the 10 o'clock hour. And I think ultimately we'll drop back between 69 and 71 for most spots as we go into the late night hours ahead of us. Again, not much to show across the entire 4-state region. Upstairs at the surface at the very least, we have high pressure keeping our southerly wind in place. I am watching our next front. This, however, is going to take a sweet time before it starts changing our weather up around here. As far as the jet stream setup goes, it's all about this upper level ridge. Strong enough, even though it's centered out west, to push the jet stream back north and east. That will certainly keep us on the hot side as we continue through the rest of the weekend. But at least this evening, again, we're looking good. Kickoff time for the football games. Most of us in the mid to upper 80s, but notice how we're dry all evening long and eventually back into the upper 70s by the time we hit the final snap. So all the football games this time around are looking okay, unlike the surprise thunderstorms we had to deal with last week. And in fact, we're all looking good as we start Saturday morning out, and a mild start once again with overnight lows dropping back to 71 degrees. At south wind at 5 to 15 doesn't bring a lot of humidity, so with all this dry air still in place and mostly sunny skies, another quick warm-up. 89 degrees by noon, pushing 95 for the afternoon high in Joplin. I see everybody pretty much fair game to hit at least the mid-90s for certainly a hot day, but not a humid day. So at least we have that little bit of silver lining to look forward to. The heat stays with us for Sunday and even Monday, but this is more a moderating setup in the jet here. So I'm thinking lower to middle 90s for Sunday and Monday as we go into next week. But here comes Tuesday and Wednesday. That front to the north starts sinking our way and about to pass on through on Wednesday. That's going to give us our next best shot for rain and thunderstorms, maybe a few isolated storms on Thursday, but we're going to like what this front will do as we show you the 7-day forecast. 95 for Saturday, we'll go 93 Sunday, 90 on Monday. Before the front sweeps in on Wednesday, we'll have highs here 92 after we start around 70 degrees. Our best shot for thunderstorms looks to be on Wednesday with a few isolated storms on Thursday, but as soon as the rain chances pick up, that will have highs back in the lower to middle 80s and looking at 87 on next Friday.
Boy, that'll be welcome, and rain. I'd like to see some of that too.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Nick. Coming up, the latest on the shortage of cars for sale. First, though, we honor a local World War II veteran. Dale Passig served in the U.S. Air Force, stationed in Italy and Trinidad. He was part of the 780th Bombardment Squadron in his hometown, Iola, Kansas. And we are proud to salute Private First Class Dale Passig, a 4-state hero.
Doug Hetty has earned the Monday.
Topping today's Consumer Watch, the TSA now is doubling fines for people who refuse to wear masks on airplanes, trains, and other forms of public transportation. First-time offenders will face a potential fine of up to $1,000. People who break the mandate for a second time could face a penalty of up to $3,000. The pandemic created supply chain shortages throughout the economy. While some businesses have returned to normal, the auto industry continues to struggle. Anthony Puro reports.
This Northern California Toyota dealership only has a small number of new cars in the main lot, and a secondary lot is completely empty.
So in a normal year, this lot, it'd be filled brim to brim with about 200 to 250 cars.
It's a nationwide problem. CarGurus.com says a measure of available new vehicles dropped more than 13% in August compared to July and is down 64% from this time last year.
There was a lot of hope going into August that we might start to see somewhat of a turnaround. Unfortunately, that has not materialized.
CarGurus' Kevin Roberts says the microchip shortage that started last year continues to plague the auto industry. Without them, companies cannot build today's high-tech vehicles. It appeared things were improving, but then the COVID Delta variant shut down some chip production in Asia. Car makers are being forced to temporarily idle factories because of it. General Motors, Ford, and Kia are the latest to do so. Karen Pratt was able to get a new car. That's because she ordered it 2 months ago.
I would have liked to have been able to test drive one, but they just didn't have them.
The lack of new cars has also created a shortage of used vehicles, and prices continue to rise.
So what's this mean for consumers?
What this means for consumers is that it's going to be a challenging market for the foreseeable future.
Is there an end in sight?
The end is expected to come sometime in 2022.
Robert says it could be mid to late next year until things start to return to normal. Anthony Pura, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Car shortage is especially bad news for victims of Hurricane Ida who lost their vehicles to flooding. Federal regulators have hit Wells Fargo with another fine. The financial institution must pay $250 million for failing to move fast enough to compensate its victims. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency says the bank engaged in unsafe or unsound practices tied to its loan modification program and violated the terms of a 2018 consent order. The bank admitted to widespread customer abuse, which included forcing customers to pay unnecessary fees and opening millions of fake accounts. The bank agreed to pay restitution to customers as part of a $1 billion settlement, but the OCC says it's not happening fast enough. In addition to the fine, the OCC is restricting Wells Fargo's mortgage business until it can deal with its problems. Walmart is ending its quarterly bonuses for U.S. store workers at the end of January and says it's rolling them into the base pay of associates. The news comes after Walmart announced last week it was raising its hourly minimum wage from $11 to $12 beginning on September 25th. The move will raise wages for more than 525,000 of its workers. Hourly employees at Amazon can go to college on the company's dime. The offer is available to 750,000 workers as long as they've been with the company for at least 90 days. Amazon's new program will also fund educational advancement, including high school diplomas and GEDs. It follows similar moves by Walmart and Target. And more younger people are choosing cooking over clubbing. According to a new OnePoll survey, nearly half of millennials said they'd rather spend their money on home and bakeware over the bar. 66% said they get their buzz from buying new items for their homes. In fact, half of respondents describe themselves as Gerillennials, that is, a younger person who acts much older than their age. Final check of the forecast up next.
Services provided by the Wild Side.
The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOIM News at 6, the Pittsburgh fire chief reflects on his efforts at Ground Zero on 9/11 and the lessons he now shares from that day. Plus, we're going to hear from a co-anchor who worked here at KOIM 20 years ago, who has a very personal connection to the attack at the Twin Towers. And we're going to see how McDonald County Schools marked the anniversary. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOIM News at 6. Ribbon cutting today marked the completion of the trail linking Missouri Southern with the movie theater and shopping areas at North Park Mall. The approximately 1 mile out and back trail includes a pedestrian bridge over Turkey Creek, making it possible for students who don't drive to easily access food, shopping, and entertainment options across the water. The city oversaw the trail and bridge construction, with MSSU providing and installing lighting along the trail. It's going to be kind of warm for a walk along that trail or any other for the next couple of days.
Yeah, but at least we're keeping things dry, not just for those outdoor plans now, but for Friday night football as well. A marked improvement compared to the thunderstorms that some teams had to put up with last Friday. We'll keep things warm this evening. We'll have to head back to 95 tomorrow, but we'll keep things mostly sunny. 93 Sunday, 90 on Monday. We'll keep things pretty dry through Tuesday until our next front brings in some rain chances and a drop in temperatures by Wednesday.
Thanks, Nick, and thank you for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. And of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. We'll see you then. Let's make it a great evening.